Welcome to another episode of Miles Ahead Deep Dives. You won't find our typical podcast segments here, but you will discover nitty-gritty details of one extremely important topic to Canadian travel enthusiasts. Today, we will deep dive into all things Refundable Hotel Trick, and I'm joined by Frugal Flyer founders, Josh and Reed. To begin, let's define the Refundable Hotel Trick. Reed, why don't you tell everybody about this trick and why a Canadian consumer might consider using it?
Absolutely. Thanks, Danny. So the Refundable Hotel Trick, as implied by the name, is a trick that involves refunding a hotel. The goal of the Refundable Hotel Trick is to turn your rewards points essentially into cash or into statement credit. And why would you want to do that? Well, typically when you're redeeming points, they have higher value when redeemed towards different types of purchases, and lots of different rewards programs give the highest value for travel. And, you might have an excess of points and you're not going to use that for travel in the next little while. So they're worth more to you now as cash or as statement credit. So with the Refundable Hotel Trick, it's a little bit of a gray area, I would say, sort of like manufactured spending. You're using the points in a way that they're not intended to be used. And so I would just say use caution when you're doing this. So as far as the specific process to do the Refundable Hotel Trick, it varies a little bit between each bank or each type of rewards points. And we'll get into the specifics a little bit more with each bank. But the general process is first you book a hotel, and it can really be any type of travel booking, but hotels are just easiest as they typically have very generous refund policies. There's also something called the Refundable Car Rental Trick. It's the same idea, but with car rentals, just as an example of that. So once you've made your booking of a refundable hotel or other travel booking, you would then apply your points towards the transaction. So you redeem your points. And then once that's gone through, you refund the hotel or refund the booking. And the end result is you have a negative balance or statement credit essentially in your account. So Josh, Danny, anything to add to that?
Yeah. So most importantly, if you're going down this road, I know it's in the name, Refundable Hotel Trick, but I cannot understate. Please, please, please double, triple check before you do this that the hotel booking is actually refundable. Typically, when we're doing the Refundable Hotel Trick, we may be using a bank-specific booking platform, or we may be using something generic like hotels.com, Expedia. All of those sites very clearly identify if something is refundable or not. But I highly recommend double and triple checking before you book, because the last thing you want is to be on the hook for a $2,000 hotel booking that you've accidentally booked as non-refundable.
I mean, at least you got some statement credit to offset your $2,000 mistake hotel. But yes, we definitely want to emphasize double, triple check that your refundable hotel is in fact refundable. But that's not the only thing that you could use Refundable Hotel Trick for. So for example, let's say that you have a minimum spend upcoming for a card like the American Express Business Platinum. Usually a huge minimum spend, something in the range of 5 figures, like $10,000. That's out of reach for a lot of people if the normal 3-month requirement is included in that, because you have to spend $3,333 a month. If that's not your typical spending pattern, you can kind of cheat and extend that minimum spending window by booking a refundable hotel for whatever the remaining amount of spend that you have left is when you get to that 3 months. And essentially what you're doing is giving American Express interest-free loan. So you're booking a hotel, let's say, for $4,000, and you're giving yourself a month or two to spend an extra $4,000. Once you've spent that $4,000 and spent a total, in this case, what would be $14,000, you can refund your $4,000 hotel. You've spent $10,000 and you still get that membership rewards bonus, but you've kind of floated some money and given yourself some more time to make that minimum spend.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach. I know years back, I had a lot of issue hitting the minimum spends on the Business Platinum card in Canada, and that's a great way to still make these outsized bonuses really attainable, but kind of doing it more on your own time. So I was curious, Reed, you mentioned with the Refundable Hotel Trick, that you sometimes land with a negative balance or, as a result of a statement credit. For those who are interested in kind of going down this path and doing that trick, what do you tend to do with the statement credit? Like, do you have them cut a check? Do you just spend it down? What's kind of your favorite approach?
Yeah, this is another one that sort of depends on the bank a little bit. Depending on what bank you're using, you'll learn how they work. But with almost every bank, or I would say with every bank, you always have the option to call in or to talk to the bank and have that credit issued as a check. I don't usually do that. So if it's a bank where I have a bank account with them, it's a lot easier because then you can just have them issue that negative balance as a credit to your bank, straight to your bank account. So that's probably the easiest option. But again, going back to where I mentioned use caution, if you're doing this a whole lot, you might start to have the bank ask questions about why you're doing that so often. So the other option is you could just spend it away. You can take your time to spend it off. If you do any manufactured spending, that's a good way to get rid of the balance. So yeah, those are a few options that kind of come to mind. With the refundable hotel trick, we have a great article that goes really deep into all of this, the general process that we're talking about, as well as how it works with each bank. And there's some visual or pictures that are included in that article. So we'll be following along kind of with that article throughout this episode. And we'll link that in the show notes for everyone to check out as well.
Perfect. So I think that's a really good wrap up on what the refundable hotel trick is and how we can use it. Now, there are some specific types of points and credits that we should be using with the refundable hotel trick. Josh, why don't you start us off by getting into the details of Scene Plus, one of the most popular rewards programs in Canada?
For sure. Scene Plus is definitely one of the most popular and one of the most easiest to use loyalty programs in Canada. Scene Plus is fantastic because each point is pegged at 1 cent per point. So it's very easy to know how much your points are worth. And they're super easy to earn through, the Scotiabank Gold American Express card and the Scotiabank Passport Visa Infinite card. Easy to accrue a ton. So when you're redeeming your Scene Plus rewards points, if you're redeeming for travel, as with any other redemption, they're always pegged at 1 cent per point. So Scene Plus, it's super simple. You're able to just book a hotel or any travel, really. Again, it's very easy to use these points legitimately, so you may not need to use the refundable hotel trick, but you simply are just able to book a hotel. You log into Scene Plus, you'll find your travel booking, and it just apply points, and they'll show up as a statement credit within a couple days after you've done that. Really nothing else special is needed. If you're doing the refundable hotel trick, of course, cancel your hotel after. But I do find Scene Plus are so easy to just use organically, whether you're using them for Disney tickets or flights or whatever it may be, that there's less value in using this trick for this program.
Yeah, and to that note, just how easy they are to use, you can even use them for movie tickets, and they're the same 1 cent per point, Scene Plus Cineplex locations. So I've collected a few of these, even though I don't have any Scene Plus credit cards, just through like shopping at Sobeys and getting bonus offers. And I've used them for $10-15 off a movie ticket when it was handy. So you don't necessarily need to have that redemption. But the one thing that we didn't mention earlier is it could be a good idea to cash out a stash of these if you've got like 150,000 of them or something, because you never know when a program is going to suddenly devalue or make things more difficult. So once you get to a certain amount of points and you haven't done a refundable hotel trick in the last 12, 18 months, might be worth looking into doing it. Reed, I know that you bank with CIBC quite a bit. What can you tell us about using the refundable hotel trick on CIBC's in-house reward currency, Aventura points?
Yeah, so Aventura is also a pretty easy program to make use of. With their program for redeeming points, they have something called shopping with points. And so essentially with this, you just log into your account and you select a pending transaction and you select redeem with points, and that'll get you 1 cent per point. And so that's a really easy way to kind of apply the refundable hotel method.
Now, if that sounds unfamiliar, it's because they recently changed their redemption values in 2024, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Very recently.
Yeah, there was quite a while, it seems to continue to be renewed, where they had an elevated rate of 1.25 cents per point. So practitioners of the refundable hotel trick were very happy during that period.
We We do have an article on the shopping with points feature on Frugal Flyer, and we'll include that one in the show notes. It's a bit of a unique one.
Yes. Yeah, it is a little bit different with the way that you have to wait for it to go pending transaction and all that, but better let the article explain it. And then moving on to another one of the big 5 banks in Canada, we have Bank of Montreal Rewards. BMO Rewards, we don't have any experience with it ourselves, as unfortunately BMO is a little bit lackluster in the in-house points currencies. Part of the reason for that is the maximum value of a BMO Rewards point is 0.67 cents per point. The BMO program is weird, and even their value per point is weird. Like, how do you settle on 0.67 as the value that you're going to peg your points at? It just doesn't make any sense. Also, a good time to mention that their 5X earning card, I think the Eclipse Infinite, really only earns about 3.5% cash back, so to speak, in comparison to, let's say, the Cobalt, which earns a true 5X at eats and drinks and all that stuff. But they do have an option where you can either book travel your own way and then redeem the points. And I believe there is also a way for you to just get them directly put into an investment account or your bank account. So best to let the listener investigate those on your own. But anybody listening to this show probably doesn't heavily invest in the BMO Rewards program. If you do, listen to episodes 1 through 3, and you'll get a lot better advice on what type of rewards to be redeeming. And finally, the last type of points that we're going to discuss today is TD rewards. This is also the most complex version of redeeming points for a refundable hotel trick. TD rewards are accrued by spending on the first class travel and the platinum travel Visa cards that are offered by TD Bank. So this is their own in-house rewards currency. One of the things that you can do is book travel anyway. So even gas often qualifies as a travel charge, but you're only going to get 0.4 cents per point, which isn't bad. But if you book travel through the TD for Expedia portal, you can redeem your points against those purchases at 0.5 cents per point. So what is that? Math is hard, but about 20% more in value. So depending on how many points you have, it could be worth to go through the Expedia for TD route. When you go through Expedia for TD, if you cancel your hotel booking, you'll end up with the TD rewards points back in your account, unless you do one special thing in switching your credit card to a card that doesn't earn TD rewards. So this could be going from a TD rewards earning card to a cashback card. You could switch to an Aeroplan card. Those sort of things would allow you to get a refund for your hotel, and it would be a statement credit rather than be refunded to you in TD rewards points. So of course, we do go through all of that in our article. And at last I checked, as of, even 2 months ago, that trick was still working. But again, not something you want to be doing all the time. Be kind of yearly or even once every 2 years sort of trick that you want to do. Now, redeeming points is certainly one way that we can take advantage of the refundable hotel trick, but we can also redeem for annual credits. Josh, what kind of annual credits can we use the refundable hotel trick for?
There's a few cards in Canada that come to mind that have annual travel credits, or they're tied to the cardholder anniversary. Most prominently, we have a $200 travel credit on the American Express Platinum card and the Business Platinum card. And the American Express Gold card has a $100 travel credit. So these travel credits need to be used through the Amex travel portal. It's not like you can go and book on Expedia or book on hotels.com. But the Amex travel portal really does function like any other search aggregator tool. So simply, if you have these travel credits, again, if you can use them normally, we highly recommend using them normally. But if, you're at the end of the year and you're not able to use it or whatever happens, you are able to go on the Amex travel portal and apply one of these credits to a refundable hotel booking and then cancel the booking after. And in Canada, that statement credit will stick.
Yep.
If we're talking in the United States with Amex down there, it does not work. So this is a Canada exclusive thing. It's worked this way for a number of years now. Hopefully it continues to work this way. But if you have no travel planned or, are just unable to use those credits normally, it's still a great way to take advantage of it and, get a little bit more value out of your card.
Yeah. And it's a good thing if you're going to use those credits normally, the Amex annual travel credits, make sure you're not booking a chain hotel, because the AmexTravel.com website is Expedia with an Amex set of makeup over its face. So if you book travel at like a Marriott, for example, on amextravel.com, you're not going to collect any elite nights and you're not going to collect any Marriott Bonvoy points regardless of your status. So try to avoid that. It's best if you want to use that travel credit how it's intended to be used. Book an independent hotel, or let's say at a chain that you don't have any loyalty to and you don't collect points with. That's slightly different than American Express Fine Hotels and Resorts, but we'll save that for a different deep dive episode. And then again, just to wrap up the episode here, some general cautions that we've mentioned before. Triple or quadruple check that your hotel is fully refundable. Even read the terms on the checkout page if it's not explicitly clear. I would spend at least 2 or 3 minutes going through everything that you see if it's your very first time doing this. And again, the banks really don't love this loophole, so it's best not to abuse it on a monthly or semi-monthly basis. With that being said, I think that's everything we have today for the Refundable Hotel Trick Deep Dive. Thanks for tuning in to Miles Ahead Deep Dives. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any questions about the episode, be sure to leave a comment on the episode page on FrugalFlyer.ca. And if you have a question you want us to answer on air, you could submit it on FrugalFlyer.ca/podcast. Bye, everybody.